What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Value Unlocked. This week, I want to take you into a conversation that I had with Mad Mike about decentralized staking. We talk about the differences between centralized and decentralized staking, liquid staking derivatives, how DeFi fits within a portfolio and can act as a diversifier. And we have a great conversation where we show you how easy it is to stake on chain via the Lido protocol. So check it out. And as always, if you like the content that we're putting out, please help us spread the word, subscribe to the Tasty Crypto YouTube channel, like the video, and if you have a question for us or want to provide some feedback, please drop it in the comments below. I hope you enjoy the video. You think about how do you stake? I can run my own validator node. I need 32 ETH. I don't know how to do that personally. It's technically complex. Okay, that's out the window. I can send my ETH to Coinbase or another exchange. They have some of these services, right? Kraken has it, Coinbase has it, staking as a service. Super easy, just sits there, own Ethereum or whatever else they offer that you're going to generate a yield on. Just hold it. And, in some cases, you've got to move it over here. You've got to, I guess, deposit it, but you're just easily going to generate that. Then there's this third way, and I haven't done this yet, but I'm about to do this. And this is what I'm interested in, is the concept of decentralized staking. And I know you've written some pieces on this. You want to just jump into that for everybody, explain decentralized staking, and we can kind of talk through some of the aspects, what you can do with it, why we think it's cool, whatever.
Sure. So as you said, there's three tiers of staking, and the rewards go, the most rewards is running your own node. That's up here. We'll say you're getting 5%. Beneath that is delegating your crypto to a protocol like Lido, a decentralized protocol, to stake on your behalf. And beneath that, as far as rewards, usually are centralized exchanges like Coinbase, where they have the coins, they stake them on your behalf. Now, when we're talking decentralized staking, we're talking primarily Ethereum, even though there are other proof of stake coins that you can stake, but we're talking Ethereum, and we're talking two protocols. We're talking Rocketpool and Lido. So how this works is you have Ether in your wallet, you connect your wallet to one of these protocols, and you simply delegate your crypto to them to stake. And they take your crypto along with many other parties' crypto, and they put it into a pool. And when you do this, they issue you what's called a staked Ether token, which is sort of your receipt for that crypto that you have put up. And we're going to get into that later. So why would you do decentralized staking over centralized staking? FTX, I think that sums up all centralized crypto activities. You don't have control over your keys, so who knows what's going to happen?
That's worst case scenario. I mean, to be fair, I think when you look at a lot of the companies that are entering in the space, I'd like to think of us as one of those. There are people that are putting the customer first. It's in everybody's best interest. That's why we're here. You do have that trust. Whereas you look at FTX and just rampant, blatant fraud. So I think, to be fair, that's probably like an edge case, but it's a huge risk, as you've called out, right? I mean,
yeah,
people are worried about financial collapse, companies going out of business, fraud. You don't have that necessarily. I mean, it's not to say that there aren't risks, but you definitely don't have that centralized counterparty intermediary risk like you called out with FTX when you're doing something it's decentralized through one of these protocols.
To your point, usually decentralized pays a little bit more rewards than centralized, but as of this moment, Coinbase pays 4% APR. Well, Lido, which is the decentralized staking, pays 3.7%. So there isn't a huge argument for staking on a protocol at the moment until things get going again, rates start going up, which will probably happen once the Fed lowers rates. So there isn't a huge case for staking, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, if it's just simply based on yield and I can get 5.5% somewhere else versus 3.7, 4%, whatever it is on staked ETH, for sure. But I think there's that embedded bullish view. If you're long this position, you own the underlying token, get this kind of dividend or this yield that's generated off of it in the form of the underlying token. That might be attractive to people. I think it's attractive to me, not that you put all of your money into it, but as a diversifier, a component, Sure, there's the yield comparison, but I think there's also just the investment perspective here too. And so the fact that you can generate that yield is interesting. But when you're staking it through these protocols, the liquidity dynamic changes as well when you have these derivative tokens, this liquid staking. Can you jump into that a little bit?
Sure. So when you stake with a centralized exchange, and this is another reason why I would, even though the rates are subpar, I would still consider staking with a protocol, because when you stake with a centralized exchange, it's kind of like putting your money in a bank. You put the money in a bank, you earn interest on it, you can't touch that money. With decentralized staking, they issue this token as soon as your crypto gets locked up in Lido, Rocketpool, whatever protocol you're using. They issue you a token, which is called the staked ether token. And you can use that token on different protocols. So I could take that token, I could go to Aave and I could lend it out, and I could get, 5% yield just from lending my crypto to another party. And that leads us to kind of like the building blocks of what people refer to as yield farming. And that is huge, to have access to your collateral. And of course, whenever your activities are done, you simply go back to Lido or wherever you staked with originally, and they will give you back your original ether in proportion to how much, how many of the stake tokens that you have. Because if you lose those, you're not going to get all the ether back. So there are some risks with that. But if you mitigate these risks, it's still an extraordinary opportunity to be earning an APR on crypto while still having access to that crypto. It's really revolutionary, and I think this concept could eventually trickle into traditional finance.
Yeah, it unlocks more utility for sure. The tech does. And hopefully this is now a way for people to see or to understand what we mean, or what people mean when they say these are money Legos or money blocks. In terms of, you can kind of connect these things together. You can weave these activities together in a way where, if you do it intelligently, and there's definitely risk, but you need to manage that risk, you can get to a point where you are generating a substantial yield because of the sophisticated approach. That's super interesting to me. And so then again, it's like, all right, you start with, it's 3.5% versus 5% over here, but it has this added utility where if you want to configure it this way, or kind of put this trade on, so to speak, you can do that because it is a derivative token. And when you just hold that token as a result of that activity, staking through the protocol, you're going to start to accrue the rewards in the form of more staked ETH. And then you can go and you can put that into a liquidity pool. Like you said, you can borrow against it. There's not a ton, I guess, at this stage. That's like, oh, that's the most compelling thing ever that you can do with it. But the fact that it's dynamic like this is just super interesting.
Yeah, it really is. And it's almost, because you're not only considering the return you're getting on what you're getting for stake, you almost have to add that to what you could get on a lending protocol if you're able to lend that staked ETH out. So say I'm getting 3.7% just from staking. Well, if I can generate another 4% yield from taking that staked asset and moving it to, say, Aave, like I said before, that would bring your return up to 7.7%. And the risk there is relatively low. And the risk reward ratio, I would make that trade. Would you, Ryan?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, we can never ignore the risks that exist here, and it can be super volatile at times. And maybe it's unproven in some people's opinion. It hasn't been around forever, right? So maybe the same controls aren't in place. So you have to be cautious. But when I look at just some of the numbers here, right? You can pull this up in DeFi Llama. When you look at the different, call them DeFi categories, the biggest one is liquid staking. There's 127 different protocols. It's going to be across a lot of different blockchains, not just Ethereum. But in terms of the size of this, and maybe that helps to put context around it, it's 24 billion right now in TVL. And when you jump into that, it's dominated by a couple of players, the two that you mentioned, Lido and Rocketpool. But even when you look at Lido, and this is now on Ethereum that we're talking about, but when you look at Lido, it's 85% of the liquid staking market share. So these things, you have to understand the details. So you can't just go anywhere. I'd probably want to be with the bigger ones, the liquid ones. But it's growing. The last time that I looked at some of this data, I think was May, and it's gone up in terms of the amount staked, I think, by 25% or so.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And when I look at these numbers, it just shows you how hungry people are for yield. And I can't imagine what the DeFi environment is going to look like in a year or two once the risk-free rate goes down, because awareness is indeed growing with what you can do in DeFi. And there's not a lot you can do right now, because again, the rates are so low. But if you're a little bit creative and you have an imagination, you can really make some nice yield. But
Yeah, what's always been interesting to me about DeFi is how through this technology, you can kind of construct these different trades or these strategies as part of your portfolio. It opens the door to being able to do that or access that in a way where even if you're sophisticated, it's very hard to do that in the current financial system. You can't really do it as an individual. But here, I can be long underlying tokens. And this is also part of a portfolio where I might have a trade on in commodities. I might be long the S&P 500 or short an industry or sector within the market. But all of that combined, you're now able to come in here and say, well, I like crypto as an alternative asset class. I like it as a diversifier, as an asymmetric bet, possibly. I want to own some of that. But in addition to my makeup or percentage in my portfolio of crypto, I want to have kind of this multi-strategy approach where not only do I want to be long, say, Bitcoin for X, Y, or Z reason, but I want to provide liquidity on Uniswap. And I'm going to do that with a small percentage of the overall capital. Maybe I want a covered call position on that I'm rolling on a monthly basis on a derivatives protocol. And you can, again, get some of those exposures in a variety of different ways through the TradFi system, even with the underlying being crypto. But in no way can you do some of the really fun stuff that I think is, again, a diversifier. And if you have a small amount of your portfolio in that, it gives you, some asymmetry there. That's all available in DeFi. That's really the reason that I even care about this stuff. I think it's like, hey, I like these things over here. I like global macro. I like option trading. We've done all of this through Tasty Trade. And then I found out about this. It's just more fun to play over here. I'm just having more fun over here, What's exciting about DeFi to you? Like what was that thing where you're kind of like, oh, all right, this is real.
well, I kind of got into DeFi through a back door, I'd say. Well, I want to tie two things together here. First of all, years ago, I put some money with BlockFi, and I had I think it was the USDC, or maybe it was the Gemini, a stablecoin that was earning 11% yield. And this is an environment where the risk-free rate was, 1%, under 1%. But it was so easy to do, I'm like, how can they possibly give me these yields? And of course, they couldn't because they went bankrupt. I actually withdrew my funds 2 hours before they sent an email out saying that they were freezing withdrawals.
Damn,
But
you lucked out.
I know, I honest to God, 2 hours before, because the day before I'm like, something doesn't feel right. And I know we know people who weren't that lucky. It was sheer luck that I got out. But I did that, Ryan, because BlockFi is easy, right? It's very easy. What they were doing was, I'm not sure, well, they were just lending the crypto out. But from a front end user experience, I simply convert USDC to the coin, and then hit a button, and it's being lent out, and I'm making 10.5% on it. So I think I am excited about DeFi, but I want the process to be that easy. I know the risks, but I'm willing to lose. I'm willing to lose everything that I invest. But it's too complicated. Like, it needs to be that easy. It needs to be as easy as BlockFi made it. And I'm sure in the coming years, it will be that easy. I don't know how that's going to happen. I have a few ideas of how, but until that happens, there's an appetite for yield, as we can tell by just looking at the numbers that we were just going over with Lido and with Aave. It's a huge market. People are becoming aware of this. And you asked me what I'm excited for. I'm excited for interest rates to go down, so DeFi takes off again. So that's what I'm excited for. I don't know what's going to happen, but I guess the mystery sort of adds to the allure, but that environment will return. And when it does, I think DeFi, the awareness has grown significantly since the last bull run. And I think it's really going to take off. I think it's too efficient not to take off. There's no overhead. There's hardly any overhead DeFi. This is peer-to-peer run. There is no C-suite that we have to pay $30 million to a year in bonuses. It's very efficient. Like I said, I don't understand how this could not be in some capacity the future of finance. I don't know what it's going to look like when we bring these two worlds together, but it's too efficient to ignore.
All right, dude, let me show you Lido. So we go to Lido. We've got our wallet connected. There's a lot of information about the protocol here, so you can see just how much is staked, the rewards they've paid. Looks like they've paid almost 873 million in rewards thus far. See all the data here, and there's that 3.7% APR you were talking about with Ethereum. So you can either click the button at the top or you scroll down, you click stake now. You've got your wallet connected, or you connect your wallet. So you go in here, you can select wallet connect. Then there's going to be a QR code that pops up on the screen. And with the Tasty Crypto app, you can just scan that. You're going to establish the connection, and now you're able to participate. So all you have to do is type in the amount of ETH that you want to stake, click this button, and once you go through that process, you sign the transaction, make sure you look at the fees. All the details are right here. But once you do that, you're staking. So I get that there's not, you're not just sitting in a balance and all of a sudden it's magically happening. But I'm also assuming you've got to click some buttons with any of these providers. It's really that easy to do this. And we're working on some ways that hopefully improve upon that experience in the Tasty Crypto wallet apps. We'll have this DeFi section. You're going to be able to go right to it. Your wallet's connected. You're in the application, and you're quickly going to be able to just do that. So we're trying to become a little bit of a service provider and use Lido as a service provider to allow people to participate in these activities if they want to. Give you the access to that different strategy that you can now put into your portfolio of all the things you're doing.
So Ryan, in order to connect to Lido with Tasty Crypto, I'm going to need the mobile application as well as the Tasty Crypto browser extension, correct?
No, you just need the mobile app. You just need the ability to, you could use both of the applications, but you only need one. So whatever version of the software you have, you just have to establish the connection. And then there's really nothing else that you do within the wallet. The wallet just opens the gate. It's the key. So once you're connected, now you use the interface of whether it was Uniswap that we talked about last week, or it's Lido that we're looking at here today. You just use that interface. If you want to see what your position looks like, what's been going on, you have those tokens associated with your wallet address. Obviously, you have to look at your wallet, or you have to look at your Tasty Crypto app. But beyond that, it's really easy just to connect and to start to participate. All right, that was our conversation on decentralized staking. Hope you guys got a lot out of it. I loved having that discussion with Mad Mike. If you have a question for us, drop it in the comments below and help us spread the word of Tasty Crypto. Subscribe to the channel, hit that like button for the video. Thanks again for watching.